to get started, guys. All right. So thank you guys for joining the seminar, and we're gonna kick it off. The call will be recorded, and everything will be shared with you guys after the seminar. So I always like to start when anything is try to imagine, right? If you go to any conference, going to go to any trade show, imagine if you can land three plus direct shippers. What would it do for your business in the next 6 month, next 12 month? And I think that's the reason why you guys all are on this call today is to learn how do we land direct shippers. They all seem very mysterious, but they're actually not that hard to find. A lot of times, shippers are actually easier to find than truckers, if you think about it. We truckers don't really have any online presence. If you search for trucking companies in West Covina, what in El Monte, chances are freight brokers will populate on Google rather than trucking companies most of the time, right? And that's why we want to go through this to talk to you guys. And there's many different ways to get shippers. Today, our focus will be mainly on trade show conferences. The picture right here at the top, you can see an expo hall and a lot of people on the floor, right? You're going to a conference. What do you do? If it's a first time going there, you're just a little scared. How do I talk to people? There's so many of them. Like, what do I even say to start a conversation, right? And once you get into it, you come back from a conference, you're going to leave with a stack of business cards, and they're going to sit on your computer collecting dust. Most of the time, we're not going to do anything with it. So what are we going to do with a stack of business cards when we come back after meeting so many people? How do we follow up with them? How do we make sure that we're getting the most out of going to the conferences, investing our time, investing our money, right? And talking to those people, and how do we convert them to becoming a customer of ours? And I've gone to a lot of trade shows and conferences, and unfortunately, I meet a lot of people asking me, "Hey, right, I spent $2,000 coming here, but I walk away with nothing, no return. So I don't think I'll be coming back again." Well, a lot of times that's because people are not doing the homework the right way. What that comes down to is pre, intra, and post. And what I mean by that is, right, are you going to the right show? Are you going to the right conference? There's a lot of conference targeting trucker who will tell you there's California trucking show, Texas trucking show, Florida trucking show, right? When you go to those type of conferences, what's the purpose of intention going there? And when you go to trucking shows, a lot of time, what's happening is you're not going to find shippers. You're going to find a lot of vendors trying to share with you, hey, this is the newest technology. This is the best parts for your fleet to maintain your fleet, right? You're going to see people selling to you. So for us, if our intention is to find shippers, trucking shows may not be the best one. The best shows might be the one that shippers go to, right? But when it comes to shippers, so broad, what conference do they go to? Right, we're going to cover that and then talk about that part. And also, regardless what type of conference that we go to, how do you start a conversation with strangers? And how do you follow up with them, having the right process in place? Everything that we cover here will be, everything we talk about now will be covered throughout the slides to go over those step-by-step guides to make it happen. So make sure that, right, if we go, we're getting our money worth, we're getting our time, investment, all the effort we put in, right? We're getting the correct return from those. With that, want to introduce a little bit about myself. Some of you may already know me. Some for those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Justin. I'm a second generation trucker. I helped my dad scale the trucking company from 3 to 50 in a little less than 3 years. Prior to that, I was working at Amazon in a warehouse. So and after helping my dad scale this trucking company, I realized that I didn't do anything special. I just found shippers, found the ways that working the other people were not doing, and now I want to share that trucking companies to make sure everybody can do that. It's nothing complicated. Brokers are doing it. Just nobody ever taught truckers. If you think about it, all the truckers, when we get into the industry, we learn from our friends that, hey, where do you get loads from? Oh, you go on load boards, you go on that, right? You go to brokers. Nobody ever really shared with us, hey, that you can actually go directly to shippers too. And this is how you make that happen, right? I figured out the hard way on how to do that. And Truckpedia is on the mission to empower truckers. There are a lot of startups, a lot of companies out there focusing on brokers, focusing on shippers. No one really care about truckers. Anybody can, really can stump on us, right? Hey, you need to pay this for a toll bill, or you're not gonna get your truck out. For my technician to go out on the road, call fee 250 plus $2 per mile round trip, right? No one really empowered truckers. So Truckpedia is on a mission to change that. How do we make truckers comfortable? How do we make truckers learn the industry knowledge so that all the problem we have, once you find direct shippers, once your revenue go up, everything will go away. Compliance, electric trucks, right? All of those stuff, they will go away once your profit margin goes up. And with that, we're going to dive into this part. Even for me, the screen might be a little small. I really want to share this part because I go to a lot of conferences. Ed Burns is another second generation trucker in the industry trying to share knowledge to educate trucking people. So I asked him, because I go to a lot of conferences, this guy is one of the best networking person I've met. And I asked him, hey, Ed, if you can give truckers 5 tips on how to network. How do you even start a conversation at any conference? What would it be? And this guy sent me literally a whole long essay teaching truckers how to do it. And I would love to share this with you guys. And he shares a lot of good tips on LinkedIn. If you like what we're about to read, feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn and then try to learn from him as well. So he would say networking is hard work. You have to be on the whole time, paying attention, seeing who's in the room. But also you need to be hyper focused on the person with whom you're talking to. You want to make an impression, make that person feel like they're the only person in the room in your eyes, right? You want to make the person feel special, feel like they matter, they're important. Don't just stare at the person's conference badge, because everybody walk with a badge. It will tell you what they do. So a lot of time when you're talking to people, it's easy to get distracted and see who's passing by to look at that badge. This is actually a great tip from him. I make that mistake a lot too myself. It's inevitable when you're talking to someone who's not a target ideal customer of yours and there are people passing by. You don't want to be rude to that person, right? That's actually really matters a lot. A lot of times, don't stare at other people's badge and don't even worry about what's on there. Look at him or her in the eye and extend your hand and firmly ask, hey or hi, what's your name, right? And next, when you start the conversation after a firm handshake, you want to ask them, instead of saying, hey, what do you do, right? That's what always people do when you go to a conference. Oh, what do you do? Everyone get asked that question. How can we differentiate ourselves? How do we become more interesting? So he gave about 15 questions, and I personally really enjoy the questions. I actually use quite a few of them, right? What do you do for fun? When you go to a conference, we meet people, everyone here talking about, I give the same speech like 10 times, not meet this person. Finally, someone asked me something, not about the conference, what I do, right? What do you do for fun? What's your story, right? What's your favorite book or movie? What have you learned here so far? And what's your favorite conference town? And what are you most excited about right now? Right? And what do you think is broken in transportation? Like, this question is actually one of my favorite ones. If you go to any trucking conference, you ask people, what do you think is broken in transportation? Everyone got their own opinion. Everyone like to share, well, I think brokers are evil. I think, this is a problem right now. I think this is a problem, right? Right away, you get people comfortable. When they start sharing what they think the problem is, you build that connection. And everything else just follows through, become much, much easier as you're talking, right? That's why I'm actually my favorite one is, what do you think is broken in transportation? And we'll share the list with you guys, but those are the great questions to look at, right? And then most importantly, when you go to any conference, any trade shows or conference, you want to be comfortable. You want to be you, right? So whatever you think is the best fit for you, those are just tips for you. If you don't know what to start with, those are the ones that you can get into and start applying them when you go to conferences and figure out what works the best for you. Uh, Success stories, right? I love taking pictures. When you go to conferences, you're going to meet a lot of people. Chances are they're going to forget who you are. You're going to forget who they are. If you had a really good conversation with someone, towards the end of a conversation, always ask them, hey, can we take a picture together? Right? So that way, even if you're following up with them, right away, send them a picture in that email. they feel comfortable. It's, oh yeah, I took a picture with them. I remember that person. He's awesome. Yeah, the picture. Oh, I want to share that with my team because I didn't take any picture of the conference, and then they took one. People will never say no to take picture of the conferences. So this is actually a great way for people to, when you do your follow-up email for them to reply, having a picture of you and them is the best way to get people to reply to you. And this is one of my personal favorite, right? When Ivy and I go to a lot of conferences, when we go, we're always taking picture. Whoever we have a good conversation with, let's grab a picture together. Let's take a picture together so that there's a story we remember, put a name to the face after we leave. And finally, if you're not exhausted after 3 days at a conference, you probably didn't go hard enough, right? This is me every time I go to a conference. After I go to a conference, I feel exhausted. We want to be that. You're walking, you're talking, you're meeting hundreds of people, right? You're on your foot all day, right? So it will be exhausting. So for those who haven't been to one, expect that it's a very tiring journey, but you always have to be on your A game when you're there while you're talking to people because you want to get the most out of conferences. And with that, I'm going to transition a little bit to this chart. This is my favorite chart when it comes to finding direct shippers, right? Conference, it is one of the many ways of finding shippers. When we join the truck industry, when it comes to finding direct shipper strategy, we were told mostly to go to the side channel, which DAT, truck stop, digital marketplaces, who are most people handle them, freight brokers. What are the main channels? Inbound and outbound marketing. What that means is, right, conference is one, knocking on doors, visiting our neighbors, making cold calls, doing email marketing, doing LinkedIn outreach, writing blogs, having an online website presence, running ads, producing social media content, right? Those are the inbound, outbound strategies brokers are using to land their customers. Us truckers, rather than complaining about how much margins brokers have, we need to learn from them. Hey, what worked for them? Brokers, without any asset, they're able to land shippers. Us with the asset, what's our excuse for not landing shippers directly? There's none. We just need to learn what worked for them, apply it to ourselves. And I always tell people, yes, there are going to be bad brokers, just like how there are bad carriers too, right? We can't eliminate that. Everyone is in this not for nonprofit. They're in this to make a living for themselves as well. We can't blame them for being good at their own business, having a higher profit margin. What we can do is what can we learn from them for ourselves. When we go to conferences, I don't meet a lot of carriers. I meet a lot of brokers, shippers and brokers, because brokers are there going after shippers, trying to get those contracts, trying to get those loads, right? So these are the things that we as carriers can learn from everybody and we can apply them in our daily operations. When we hire dispatchers to join our company, who said that their job is to go on DAT and call brokers all day? Nobody said that. It is because that's the way how we operate. But if you think about it, imagine if your dispatchers, every single one of them, spent 1 hour per day. If they spend 1 hour per day prospecting for shippers using some of those strategies we mentioned right here, and they keep doing that for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year, you know you will be able to land shippers, every single person. There's no excuse for us not to if we consistently keep on doing that. And that's exactly what I did when I was in the trucking industry, right? And second thing is, you may talk about conferences. What are the right, Justin, you mentioned about the shows to not go to. What are the shows that we should go to? What are the right shows for trucking company to go to? And how do I find that? And what that comes down is niching down, right? People who have talked to me, I always talk about this part, niching down. If you have 10 trucks, there's no reason why you should have 3 dry vans, 3 flatbed, 3 reefers. You think that by diversifying your fleet, you have a better chance of getting higher pay loads. But in reality is you're a jack of all trades, but master of none. You're not mastering at anything. And imagine now you got to go to conferences. You have dry vans, you have flatbed, you have reefers. Do you really have time to go to all kind of conferences where flatbed, reefers, and dry van shippers, they all go to different kind of conferences and trade shows, right? Even your message on talking to them are different. They all have different type of pain points. Reefer shippers, they're worried about their product going bad, right? Flatbed, they're worried about their stuff not getting protected correctly in the bad weather. Drive in, they have different concerns as other people. So when you start being very broad, nobody knows who you are. And what happens is you're going to end up on a load board trying to find the hot loads that are actually leftover loads. Niching down, what I mean by that is conferences. For example, if you type in direct shipper conferences on Google, nothing will populate because there's no such thing. But imagine if you have to type in, right, medical equipment conferences near me. All of a sudden, you're going to see a lot, right? If you type in frozen food conferences near me, you're going to see a lot. Meat conferences, produce, whatever commodity that is you haul the most, all of a sudden you have much more clarity on where to find them. Type. Same thing as Google. If you type in Google, direct shippers near me, nothing populates. But if you type in toy manufacturers near me, you will see a lot of warehouses that populate on Google, letting you know, hey, there's 50 warehouses within 100 miles of where you're at, and those people are all doing something related to toys, right? So all of a sudden now, this is the importance of niching down and letting people know that this is what our expertise is. This is what I focus on. This is the size of our company, and this is our ideal customer. Once you start thinking about that part, you will have the strategy. You will know where to go, the type of conference to go to, and the type of communities, type of organizations in the area to be a part of. And to go a little more into it, right? Ideal shipper profile. This is something that no one really talks about in our industry. Who is our ideal shipper? And right, the moment we start diving deep down into right, what commodity do they own? Because warehouses you knock door on, unless they're a distribution warehouse for Amazon, they're gonna have their own product, right? They may have like parts, auto parts. They may have you name it, right? Whatever you want to do, there are warehouses, people specifically doing that. Figuring out what they all have in common. Those people go what? They go to a retail conference called Shop Talk in Vegas, right? All the retail people, if you want to focus on apparel, focus on retail, there are conferences that they go to. There might be even local organizations that they're part of that you can find them at. And what challenge do those people have? Like I mentioned earlier, every group of shippers have different challenges, right? They may need to, I need delivery on time. You cannot be late because I work in construction. If you haul cement for me, you're late. My entire project cannot continue. The people have to wait for you to arrive. Every hour can cost them $100,000. This is actually a true story. I met a trucking company who are struggling with about, I forgot how many trucks exactly. And he sold his trucks, converted to hauling cement. And he carved out his niche and started growing that way just by hauling cement for a construction company because a construction company transportation manager told him that I hate my current carrier. They're always late. But every time that they're late for 1 hour, my whole plant has to shut down. And that's $100,000 every hour that I have to shut down for. So he started hauling for them and started scaling, right? To them, those construction cement shippers, they focus on time delivery, right? For other people, they may care about pricing. If you're hauling cardboard boxes or packaging material, they don't care. Those stuff are not fragile, right? They don't care about that. As long as you get it to customer, that's all they care about. But then they have their concern might be pricing. Who best rate? If I'm working with brokers right now, at least I'm paying about 10 to 20% higher than what the carriers will charge me, right? So by niching down, focusing on that, we will understand what their pain points are, and we will know what conference to go to. And when we go to those conferences, we know exactly what to talk about, right? What to talk about. Everybody here today, join this call. There's about 30 of you guys here. The reason why is you want to find direct shippers. That's your biggest pain point. And we figure it out, right? That's your biggest pain point. That's why you're willing to travel and join the call on a Saturday to listen to someone talk about trucking. Same thing. When we talk to shippers, when we focus on their biggest pain point, they're going to want to talk to us and see how we can solve their problem, right? Rather than soliciting for their business, now we're problem solvers solving their problem for them. Their professional goal. Are they the owners of the company, or are they transportation managers looking for a raise so that getting promoted to the next level, right? Those matter because to them, the metrics, the numbers matter. If they find trucking company that always show up late or not even show up at all, it doesn't look good on them. They will not get that promo. if they care about company getting promoted, so understanding those little things overall together makes a big difference. And if you're talking to the owner directly with a small business owner, just like us, owning a small fleet, but they own a small warehouse doing business, their professional goals are very, very different from a transportation logistic coordinator, warehouse manager, right? And then lastly, by knowing who they are, by knowing what challenges they have, by knowing what they care about, we can tailor our solution towards them. We can figure out a solution towards them. Hey, I do this, right? I haul furnitures for furniture warehouses in Los Angeles area with liftgate, right? So by doing those, we can figure out our message very clear. So when we go to conferences, we're not talking about everything, but at the same time, they don't even know what we're talking about. We don't even know what we're talking about. I run into that quite a bit at conferences. People are just going all over the place, not knowing what they're talking about. At the end of conference, you shake hand, you walk away, and of course, there's no follow up, right? Because they're not doing the prep work. This is part of a prep work we need to do is figuring out what really matters to us. Who do we want to provide service for, right? So those are the things that on the ideal shipper profile side is really take some time to think about who do I want to service, what do I want to be known for. And secondly, is finding those conferences. Right here on the left hand side, it's actually happening. This is a conference going on right now, Natural Product Expo West. It's Anaheim for people in California. We actually have customers going there, right? Those are your natural product, food product, right? If you're hauling anything dry, that might be a great conference to go to. And on the right hand side, this is happening in Nashville, Tennessee for people in Tennessee, right? Annual Meet Conference. Do you see how specific that is? Annual Meet Conference. Like you probably never even knew about that thing. There's actually a conference for annual meet. And if you look at that, say, hey, I own reefer companies. I haul nothing but frozen meat, right? Oh, this meat, I gotta be there because guess who's gonna be at that meat conference? Meat shippers, people, all the warehouses and people dealing with meat. Why? Because they need to connect with their suppliers, their people, and everybody there is either your direct customer or they know someone who's your direct customer. And when we go to that place is literally like in our playground, right? We need to be passing out business card. We know who they are. Even before going there, we did our research, right? This warehouse is within 15 miles away from my terminal. And I've been wanting to talk to them and they're going to be there, right? I tried to knock on the door. They didn't let me in. I didn't meet the decision maker. Now I got to be there. And I want to meet the person in charge, introduce them in person, right? Left-hand side, natural product. It's a little more broad, but if you dive into it, you see, oh, there's actually a lot of dry food products right there, right? So by figuring there's a lot of conferences we don't even know about. And I didn't even know about these two conferences until like 2 weeks ago, right? Just by doing a little research and asking people. When you go to that meet conference, you meet someone that you really like, you ask them, hey, what other conference do you go to? And they're gonna tell you like 3 more. Oh, my favorite conference are these 3. And all of a sudden you only having one and you figure out 3 more to find your ideal customers from, right? So that's the second part of finding once you niche down, knowing who you want to target, and everything just become much, much more simple, much, much more simple in that regard. Conferences that's happening also 2 more, right? Shop Talk, these 3 are for retail entirely. If you want to talk about like, let's say Nordstrom, JC Penney, or even something smaller brand, you name it, any of the retail brands, there are hundreds and thousands of people going to these 2. RELA just happened in Dallas, Texas. If you go into RELA, like this website, click on exhibit, sponsor. You'd be shocked how many freight brokers are exhibiting and are doing sponsoring those events. And do you think they will spend money for nothing to send their people there to sponsor? No, they would not. They're trying to land shippers anything in retail, right? And if shippers, again, I always say, asset carriers, if brokers can get customers here, there's no reason we cannot. Shop Talk, a lot of brokers don't even know about this one yet, right? This one's actually happening, I think, this weekend in Vegas. It's expensive. I wouldn't recommend everybody to go last minute because nobody did the homework to even go there. But look at that. There's so many people over there, right? Everything we talk about, how do you network with them? Everyone here is in retail. Everyone here is in retail. If you're doing dry van, if you're doing last mile delivery, or if you're doing over the road dry van stuff, where do we find the decision makers? These are the places where we have that face to face. And when we land them, how do we leave that strong impression? Right? Those are the tips that people will share. Right? Like what Ed said, Ed Burns said. Right? Look them in the eye, give them a smile, shake their hand, make them feel like they matter, they're important. When you make them feel they matter, they're important, they're gonna remember you, right? By asking questions that's engaging with them, building that relationship. When we go to any conference, the goal is not to close them on the spot. Nobody can close any deal on the spot. The goal is get to know them, they remember who you are, and it's all in the follow up. It's all in a follow up when you come back in a follow up. This is why we mentioned pre, intro, and post conference, right? There's three parts to any conference, any events that we go to. First part is doing our homework, understanding where we need to go, and getting all the resources ready. Second part is right here is making that strong impression. Talk to as many people as you can. And last one is post. What happens in a follow up when you have that, right? And but how do I prepare for for pre, intro, and post? And we've been talking about that, but let's go a little more in detail in that. For pre, right? Common mistake: you're going without practicing. You're weighing it the whole thing. You don't know who's at the event. You don't have any material, not even business cards. When we apply for jobs, for people, a lot of you have kids. When they apply for a job, going to job fairs, they carry their resume, right? For us, trucking companies or meeting customers, same thing. It's not a resume anymore. It's a one pager. One pager does what? Tell them exactly what we focus on. If they're not our ideal customer, it's okay to turn them away. But being specialized in knowing what we do exactly, right? Having a solid one sentence pitch. This is where a lot of people mess up on. Not having that one sentence solid pitch. I own a trucking company. I have 15 trucks. Okay, so do everybody else at this conference. They got 20 trucks, 100 trucks. What makes you differentiate you from everybody else, right? We need to have that one sentence that really make us stand out. When people talk to us, they know what we do. And this is a value proposition that I always tell people. If you don't know how to present yourself when you're introducing yourself, follow this, right? Right? ABC Trucking Company hauls furniture with 53 dry van and 26 feet box trucks with liftgate in Los Angeles to deliver 100% damage free and on time. For who? For furniture distribution warehouses, right? We focus on furniture distribution warehouses. What do? We have lift gates, we have box trucks, and we have dry van servicing what area? Los Angeles. When you have like 5 trucks or 10 trucks, you don't need to go nationwide. The longer you go, the more problems you have. Your truck gonna break down in the middle of nowhere. And there's so much business nearby. We're not capturing. We're sending trucks across all over the country, having so much risk, right? Adding so much mileage to our trucks. We don't have to do that. If you just really focus on that, there's so many furniture warehouses. I'm not telling anybody to do furniture. I'm just using the example that when you're so specific with people, even when you talk to someone, it happens to me all the time. Oh, I don't do furniture, but I have a buddy, I have a friend who owns a furniture warehouse in this place. Let me connect you, right? A lot of people will tell you that when you make their job easy to share exactly what you do, right? So when you make it very specific with people, they will tell you, oh, I don't do it, but I know somebody who does. And right away, they make that intro for you. And that's part of the pre mistake. And then what we need to work on is that part. And second one is practicing. Nobody is good at anything, right? Everyone gets a little uncomfortable. Even for me starting this seminar, initially the first few slides, I didn't feel comfortable. I'm talking to a group of people. There are people in person, there are people online, and I want to make sure everyone's comfortable. You just have to practice, right? By doing a few slides as practice and not getting into my zone. You guys can see, oh, this guy's passionate about what he's talking about. Same thing, right? Going to conference, same thing. Practice, right? Practice meeting people and talking to them. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I do X for Y, right? I deliver X for Y with Z, right? Literally just make it very simple for people to understand and start practice until it becomes second nature where anybody asks you, what do you do? Oh, I own a furniture trucking company, only servicing furniture warehouse distributors, and we got box trucks and we got liftgate, right? Servicing this area. right away you have so much clarity in that. So practicing on that part, on telling people what you do specifically. Do not make the mistake that I own a trucking company, I have 20 trucks, I have 30 trucks. So what, right? So what can I do? What can you do for me with your 20 trucks? What type of commodity, what kind of product do you haul? And resources, this is a part we also share at Truckpedia. We don't just tell people what to do, we also share a lot of resources. For people that do not have a business card, we have template. For people that do not have a one pager, like the resume that college kids or people applying for a job have, we provide a company one pager template. How do you build your own one pager for your company so you stand out when you talk to people, they know who you are, right? Trucking, we don't know how to do that stuff. So, and I struggled with that too back then. But now we want to give you that so you don't have to struggle the way we did. Business cards, company one pager, and map out. How do you map out shippers in the area? So this is the QR code where you can scan to get those resources. On the right hand side right here, that's a sample one pager for ABC Trucking Company, your core strength, and business cards. Right when you go out there, people who you want to talk to, you can pass on that information with them. And those are resources you can either scan now, or we'll share the slides deck with you guys after the seminar, so you can look into it if you would like to. Intra, intra, right? So now we got into the intra part. Like we have all the resources talking about the pre-conference. Now we're diving deep into the intra. During the conference, what do we do? And we kind of mentioned about this already, quite a bit, right? During the conference, not making the other person feel important, right? You're talking to someone, like we mentioned earlier, you're talking to someone, but your eye is on someone else's badge to see, is that a shipper I just missed out, right? Not making them feel important. People can see, they can see right away, right? So not making people feel important, not confident, not making eye contact with them. When you're talking to people, we want to come off confident, big smile on our face. Hey, my name is Justin. Nice meeting you, right? Giving them, make them feel important. And there are also people who are overly aggressive, straight up. Oh, are you a shipper? Oh, what loads do you haul? Right? Like, we can't do that. You can't be that overly aggressive. I don't even know you yet. I don't know you like that. And there's a lot of trucking company going to conferences. Oh, are you a shipper? Yes, I do. Oh, I got 50 trucks. And do you ship? I do these lanes? Start, talking about their business. This person on the other side, let's back up a little bit. Let's learn about who you are as a person first before we talk about business, right? Do not come off overly aggressive. Make that intro. Oh, what brought you to the conference today? What's considered a win for you, in 3 days when you walk away from this conference, right? Oh, what do you do for fun? How did you even find out about this conference, right? Having those conversations, getting people, ease them into it. A lot of times, like going on a date, right? When you go on a first date, you can't get them, hey, let's get married. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. You have to slowly get to know them first, and before anything serious can happen. Same thing right here. Do not be overly aggressive, but at the same time, do not be passive. Be confident. Be who you are, and don't ramble. People ramble all the time. Don't ramble. Be concise. If you don't know how, in our pre-slide we talk about one sentence value proposition. This is what I do, and this is who we help. Right? Don't ramble. Be very concise in that, and taking notes, right? Because we're going to forget when you talk to someone who's important. Right after that conversation, take out your notebook, start writing down. Oh, this person that is a Disney season holder in Anaheim, California. You know that they're a Disney fan, right? Oh, they ship XYZ 30 containers of wine bottles from overseas every month, right? So write down those notes, the key details, and then snap a picture with them, right? And then when you do that follow up, it makes things much more smooth and make you much more rememberable, right? They'll know who you are. And not knowing when to end the conversation. And it's okay if someone who's not your target customer, you talk to them, you don't want to spend like 20, 30 minutes talking to someone who's not a mutual fit. And it's actually okay to tell them, hey, nice meeting you. I'll see you around, right? Who are you looking for? If they're looking for someone else, say, hey, who are you looking for? Let me take your card. If I see them, let me try to pass on to you, right? That way you make them feel happy, and you're ending the conversation in a friendly way. They'd be like, oh, this person's cool. Like he or she already trying to add value to me. I don't even know you, and you're asking me what I'm trying to get at this conference. You're trying to help me, right? By doing that, they will very likely return the favor. Oh, by the way, let me take a few of your business cards too. If I see someone, I'll pass them your way. They may or may not do that, but you're ending the conversation, right? You're not spending too much of your time in a relation in a conversation that doesn't benefit you much as you could have if you talking to shippers directly, right? So that's how you do it. Like, don't just keep the conversation going just because you don't know how to end an awkward conversation where both sides feel a little awkward. Both people want to go away to talk to their target customer, and then both feel uncomfortable to end it. So it's okay to end it, knowing that. And next one is the do's and don'ts. There's a lot of stories. We've been talking about this, right? Like, just be yourself. Everybody got a different way. For truckers, I always say nobody's a good salesperson, right? Nobody was born to be a salesperson. I was probably the biggest nerd anybody can imagine back when I was in high school. Glasses, skinny, Asian dude. I never knew how to do sales. I can't even talk. I can barely even do a presentation in front of a classroom. But we don't, but it gets better with practice, right? Just be yourself. I always tell truckers, there's one thing all truckers have in common. So we're genuine. Whenever I talk to truckers, everything I can see right away, including the people in person today, I can see you're a trucker. I can see you're a trucker. I can see you're a trucker. It says in your face. We're all genuine people. Truckers are actually really the most genuine people, and we need to leverage that. Brokers, they're trained to be salespeople. They're really good at it. We don't need to pretend to be them. We just need to show our true self that we're genuine. And shippers can see it, and they would love to work with truckers who are genuine and honest like that, right? Just be yourself. There's no need to pretend to be someone who you're not to impress people. So be yourself and be comfortable and be confident. End of the day, be confident. Don't ever be like, and also one big mistake a lot of new carriers make when they talk to shippers is they feel like they're below them. They feel like they're below shippers because we're trying to solicit for their business, right? We're trying to get their business, and we never knew how to even find them before. Now we get them in person. You'll feel like we're extremely polite. It's okay. We don't have to be like that. We're confident, right? We have to think that we're solving their problem. They actually have a pain point. The reason why they go to a lot of conference too is they want to find reliable carriers. Right now, the biggest problem is, a lot of you may already know, the biggest problem is finding carriers who's able to cross border into and leaving Mexico to the US, right? I met a lot of shippers in the last 3 conferences I went to are looking for carriers who can cross border, right? So we are all providing service to people. We don't need to act like we're below them, right? We're on the same level. And I'm trying to provide value to you. So don't act like you're soliciting or below them. And that's one key thing. Be confident, be who you are, and just be genuine. And one last thing I want to share on the don't is this happened in Vegas. This happened in Vegas in February. I was talking to a shipper. They spend about $600 million every year on full truckload shipments. $600 million every year. So the huge, not even a fish anymore. It's a big whale, right? I was talking to him, but I talked to him for about a little over an hour, and during our whole conversation, I did not mention anything about freight. I did not talk anything about how I can, kind of take over your freight for you, kind of introduce you to people. We're just talking about life, talking about hobbies, talking about conferences, what he has seen, what he likes, right? As a mentor asking for help, hey, what would you give it to a young guy coming to a conference like this? And all of a sudden, as we're talking outside, this one person approached us. Hey, can I join your conversation? We're like, sure, why not? So he joined the conversation, he shook my hand. What's your name? Oh, my name is Justin. I'm with Truckpedia. What do you guys do? Oh, we help truckers find shippers. Oh, okay. What's your name? Another guy. Oh, my name is Greg. What do you do, Greg? Oh, I'm the head of a global. I'm the head of a transportation for North America. Oh, okay. I need to talk. We need to talk. We need to talk. Right away, he made it that obvious in front of me where we need to talk. He made me feel uncomfortable because I was not the shipper he was looking at. He made Greg uncomfortable because Greg is like, we don't need to talk. You need to talk to me. I don't need to talk to you, right? I don't need to talk to you. So you cannot come off very intentional, aggressive in that way. And then right away say, hey, let's exchange business card. Here's my card. Here's my card. And you grab the card. Hey, Greg, I'm going to call you next Monday. Is that all right? Greg goes, send me an email. Send me an email. As he walks away, Greg said, That's example of exactly of how you not network. That's example of exactly how you not network, right? When you approach people who are your target customers, build that relationship, get to know them, and then talk about business, and then talk about business subtly. He's like, Justin, we've been talking for the past hour, and I know you. I know what you want. Your true intention behind it, but also you're doing it the right way. You're getting to know me, right? We're building that relationship. You're asking me things that nobody has ever asked me at a conference before. We're building that relationship. I'm not saying I'm gonna give you my business, but let's keep on talking. I'd love to give me a product, give me a demo of your product. Let me see what you do. Right? He asked me to give him a demo. And that's a part of the relationship building and networking we want to get to is, keep on asking them and they go, so what do you do? Right? When they ask you, what do you do? Now it's a perfect time to pitch them, okay, this is what I do. And I think there's might be a common interest where I can, offer service to you, help you out. Right? When it naturally comes that way, they're gonna remember you. They're gonna want to talk to you. You would rather spend, meet 20 people, have 20 quality conversations than meeting 200 people and have fast conversation that nobody remember anybody, right? Quality really matters at those conferences. And uh, talking with leads, yeah, we kind of talked about this one too earlier. Remember that you're there to start a relationship, not to close a deal, right? Nobody can close any deal on the spot. Like we have to remember that right there. We're trying to see what do they do that we can offer help for, right? What can we match them with, and figure out their pain point, and make them relive their pain point, right? This is also something you can practice on is figure out their pain point and make them relive their pain point and find out if they're hesitant to change to be happier for easier solution. A lot of time, human nature, we're reluctant to change. Even it might be for a good change, we don't want to change it. Work, way how we ship stuff, anything, relationship, anything we resist to change. We just don't want to change, right? So figure out, and then the way to make them change is make them relive the pain point, right? And we're going to go into example of how do you make them relive their pain point, right? There's a way to make that happen, very subtly to make it happen. And I really like this example here, right? So this doesn't just apply to trade show, it applies to anything, cold calling, knocking on doors, visiting warehouses, anything. And as you get past that initial pitching stage, you got comfortable, right? You talking to them, start talking about business stuff, and then you get to, oh, so by the way, who do you currently use to move your loads? That shipper goes, TQL. If anytime you knock on anybody's door, they say use TQL, you should be like, yes. Because we all know what TQL does. We all know what TQL does, right? And I hope there's not a TQL broker sitting on this seminar today. If not, there's nothing against you guys. And who do you currently use to move your load? TQL. Oh, TQL, right? You're a little concerned. Oh, TQL. You're a little concerned for them. Let them hear that. Have you had carriers that don't show up and you don't know until the appointment time, right? Because that's what TQL is known for. They try to find the cheapest carrier, and when you find the cheapest carrier, carriers are not going to prioritize that load. They for sure, any shipper that use TQL, they absolutely had this happen, right? Have you had carriers that don't show up and you don't know until the appointment time? They're gonna think, oh yes, there was one time 5 p.m. I needed to pick up my daughter, but that truck never showed up, and I was pissed at them. Right? They remember that. So now we're making them reliving the pain point. They're thinking about the pain they had, and they will start complaining to you how terrible it was that he or she couldn't go pick up a daughter or go somewhere because that truck was late, or how pissed the customer was because the truck picked up late, it never got there on time. Right? We're making them reliving the pain point, right? Regardless they say yes or no. If they say yes, it's very easy. So what do you do when that happens? They're gonna pause. They'll be like, I try to find another. They don't know what to do. A lot of times they don't know what to do. Backup carriers, freight getting delay, right? Those are all the consequences that we talk about that prevent them from getting that next promo or prevent them getting a happy customer. So keep engaging on that pain point that they have and make them share. They will share with you. They will share with you. Just like how I ask you guys, hey, have you had a time where your truck got towed on the road and you had to pay a bill that you think was unreasonable? I'm sure every single one of you will tell me that story and you will tell me exactly, you remember clearly how it happened, or how you got scammed by a mechanic on the road where your truck broke down, they never fixed it, and they charged you a ton of money for it. Every single one of them have that story. And if I ask every single one of you, you will tell me about it and you'll be very passionate about it because you just hated that experience so much, right? And same thing right here. If they say no, so if they say no, that's okay too, because we're practicing, we're trying to understand. So are you 100% satisfied working with brokers and not carriers directly if you could? Make them think, right? So are you happy to work with brokers only and not carriers directly if you could? Then they will tell you why they would like to work with carriers or why they don't. If they say yes, right, then you know exactly that, oh, I got a chance to get my foot in the door. If they say no, keep asking, engaging, finding out why they say no. A lot of time it could be, oh, carriers don't have the technology, the EDI to integrate with their system, right? Carriers may not be able to handle our volume that we need. Then you know, okay, I actually can handle that. Oh, I have the technology that I can integrate with your system, right? I can solve that. If there are carriers that can solve that problem for you, would you consider working with them? They would tell you yes or no, right? So we're keep on asking the conversation, engaging with them in a way that make them lean towards our direction. So we're in control of the conversation, and we're not desperately asking them, "Can you give me loads?" Right? We're saying we're coming off as a consultant trying to solve their problem, and and I may have made it easier than it actually is because a lot of times you say, Justin, there's a lot more objections than that, right? It's not just as easy how you make it. There might be common objections. Let's dive a little deeper into that. They may tell you, oh, everything you said makes sense. I need to think it over, right? What you said is sounds great, but I need to think it over. We're not accepting new carriers right now. Let me talk to the team. I'll get back to you. We already have carriers for these lanes. Oh, I need to do more research. Those are the common objections. Regardless how we drive the conversation, some people will give you those objections. And when you give those objections, I need to think it over. Oh, okay, okay. Normally you say okay, but there are ways like when they give us objection, we can go in there and actually ask them more questions to make them not have that, and and having a conversation with them to make them rethink about their objections. One way what could be, right, one thing I really like about asking them is, you, what's stopping you from working with carriers directly? And you mentioned about, hey John, you mentioned that TQL, when they tell me that I need to think it over, hey John, you mentioned that TQL sent trucks to you but didn't show up last time. What will happen to your business in the next 3 months if you keep having this problem, right? They need to think it over, and I bring that right back again because they told me. I'm not saying something what's on my mind. I'm bringing their pain point back into the conversation. Hey, John, right? You mentioned that you work with TQL, and sometimes there are trucks that don't show up, and you run into X problems. What would happen to your business if you keep having this problem in the next 3 months, next 6 months? And then they will think again, right? So that's kind of how we're engaging with them. Is that, hey, just ask them, what's your top priorities right now? Why not now, right? And would it be ridiculous if we tried to do one test run together? Would it be ridiculous if we do one test run together? No, it's not ridiculous. Okay, let's set it up, right? Let's set it up. Let's schedule a call. Let's get back and get this thing going, right? So those are the things that we want to always be in control and redirect them back. And one thing I always do is, even if they end up with a conversation, right? It makes sense. Yeah, let's set it up, but let's touch base after this. Don't just say, okay, let's touch base after the show. Ask them, hey, I have my calendar right here. What day works the best for you? And then a lot of time they'll tell you, oh, let's try it next Wednesday at this time. Or if they don't tell you any time, ask them for permission. Hey, I know we all get busy, meeting a lot of people. But if we never, if we don't hear back, I don't hear back from you, or I forgot to reach out to you, I want to make a note in my I want to make a note in my notebook that I know to reach out. When should I reach back out to you again? Asking for permission. So write down a notebook, 2 weeks from today, March 30th, reach out to John, right? When call him, hey John, we met at Manifest. You told me to call you today about X. They will not hang up on you, and they will call. Oh, I give you permission to call me, right? So we always. That's the importance of taking notes. Pay attention to the little things and follow up on that, and that makes all the difference. And this is a more hesitation question in response to diffuse their objections is, what if you don't make any change? Would that make things worse for your business? Absolutely it would. My customer will not be happy, right? What's preventing you from wanting to change the situation, right? You talk about wanting to replace them, but then now you're telling me you want to think it over, but what's preventing you from wanting to change the situation? And they will tell you, oh, maybe because it's a revenue, too much work, right? Timing, right? They tell you that. And then the more information we know, the easier it is to sell our business to them, right? So those are the things, lastly is my favorite part. Would it be, unreasonable to put something on the calendar to revisit this, right? Like, then you put a calendar, bring it up, put it on there, schedule a call with them. And this is Ivy's favorite part. I'll let Ivy touch base on this one.
Come a little closer,
yeah.
In case you can't hear me. Or hear me on the other side. Hi, everyone. Yeah, no, so thank you. I want to just say, so Ivy here, second generation trucker too, but I'm not a trucking expert. I worked at Amazon first, and so I didn't know very much about trucking, but fortunately, I started learning how to really talk to people, and I just wanted to share kind of my two biggest mottos. You don't have to feel like you know everything. You don't have to be the expert. And in fact, a lot of times people appreciate when you're humble versus being like, oh, I'm going to solve all your problems. I know confidently that I'm the person. And it's kind of like in one of the stories from beforehand, like Justin's networking, like, oh, that's not how you network. There was one time I was talking with someone. They're like, I actually really appreciate talking with you. I was like, oh, why is that? And then they're like, because like, you're not trying to sell me your business saying that you're going to fix my problems. Because I've talked to people who say like, oh yeah, I'm the one who knows everything about your problem and I'm going to solve it. And it's like, dude, you only met me for 2 minutes. You don't even know me. You don't even know my company. How are you going to say that you're the expert? I've been in this business for 40 years. And who are you to tell me that you're the expert of knowing whatever my problem is? So I really wanted to share you, like, even from not knowing exactly, you don't have to know anything. You just have to be a good person. And this is what I want to also show. You have to follow this to your core. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I mean this in the sense of, you never know what opportunity you're going to be able to get. You never know who you're going to meet. But if you're going to be really scared and passive, and if you're going to have that big fear of rejection, you're going to miss out on a lot. Like the worst thing that people can say is no. But I want to go into this part. So this picture with the two ladies, I didn't know them. And I was looking for a networking event to go to. This literally happened 2 weeks ago at TPM. And I was just like, hi, like, is it okay if I just join your conversation? They're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, are you guys trying to go to this event? They're like, yeah, but we couldn't get in. And said, oh, but we're going to go to this other one. And then they tagged me along. They invited. I was like, oh, I literally asked, like, would it be weird if I joined you guys? I just wanted to find another event to network with people. And they're like, no, not at all. That night, they took me to 3 more networking events that were like some of the most exclusive. I didn't even know how. They're like, it's only customers invited. And then I got to network with all like the most exclusive shippers and freight forwarders and such and such. So that's example number 1 of shoot your shot. Example number 2, Justin, they're sitting with, this is one of our customers that we're working with, Neil. I was tired and working my heels and I was like, I'm just gonna look for someone to sit next to. And I'm just going to shoot my shot and say hi. It's kind of like the example of you go to a coffee shop and then you sit next to a cute girl or something, maybe, right? I don't know. But it turns out we were talking and he ended up being a perfect kind of fit customer almost. And then last but not least, in this picture down here, it was already 5 minutes left into the networking event. Things were closing up. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to hustle and make the most out of this. I'm not trying to be aggressive, but I'm just going to say hi, guys. I just wanted to join your group and say hi, etc. I know there's only a few minutes left, but I just thought I'd introduce myself. And then the gentleman that I'm standing next to, he's actually somebody who's a potential shipper we're also working with. So it's just so important to just shoot your shot. And then last but not least, this is probably one of my favorite ones. You don't have to be intelligent to do this. You don't have to be an expert to do this. You just have to be yourself, and most importantly, authentic and kind of just like good. Like a lot of people will forget what you said is true, but then when you call them again, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You were always like, you were super full of energy," or like, "I liked your attitude," or whatever. And I kid you not, if you go to the next slide, I don't know why I get leads a lot of times at these trade shows. And it's not because I'm the smartest person in the room. I'm quite literally, I have a goldfish memory. I'm not like, I'm not an expert in particularly anything, but it's the point of these shows is how do I get my foot in the door? How do I make a lasting relationship or impression to start a relationship? And so much of that is just like in this business and in life, so much of it comes down to, you know, I like that guy. Moses, I remember talking to him. You know what? I want to give him a chance. And so you can see in these examples, it was like just from having a good kind of impression, being honest, being positive and enthusiastic about wanting to talk to the other person, that can really go a long way, even if you're not the expert or the biggest carrier out there. And so, Justin, feel free to chime in, but that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing that. Very valuable experience. Like we mentioned earlier, it's about how you make them feel, right? That firm handshake, that eye contact, that talking to them, make them feel like they're the only person in the room. Make them feel special. They'll remember you. They will not. They may not remember what you guys talked about, but like Ivy mentioned earlier in that quote, they will remember how you make them feel. And when you go back, right, along with a picture, when you email them, hey, great meeting you. And then that's a great way to start networking. They meet hundreds of people, and we want to stand out. The best way to stand out is through those kind of tips to make them feel special, right? And what does closing a shipper take? We're wrapping up the seminar now, right? Towards the end of it, what does it take to close a shipper? That email response doesn't mean close them, right? It's still a long way to go. It's still a long way to go. A lot of time, it's in the what? It's the ability to convince them to change, and it's in the post conference. And this is the last part of it. It's like the post conference, right? Pre, intro, and post. In the post conference, what we want to do is all in a follow up, right? Follow up. And this is some statistics right here. 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls after the meeting. After the first meeting, it requires 5 more follow-up calls in order to close them. 66% of people give up after 1 follow-up. I think that applies to all of us right here in this room today, where even virtually or in person, it applies to us all. We often tend to not follow up anymore, right? After 1 phone call, 1 email, follow up 2 times, we give up. But very likely, every deal we're going to close, it's going to take about 7 to 10 touches. A deal is not over unless you give them the 7 to 10 touches. 80% of the deals in Truckpedia we close are in the 7 to 10 touches. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Doesn't matter what type of business you're doing. It takes at least 7 to 10 touches. That first relationship we build, don't lose them. Don't lose track of it, right? Keep on following up with them. And manually write down your notebook, whatever it takes. Like know that I need to follow up with them, right? And each year you're losing your customers, right? The only way to keep getting more and more customers, if you guys all know this, in the last year during COVID, after COVID, trucking industry boom, and then all of a sudden followed by a lot of trucking company, bigger ones went out of business. I actually did my research on them and dived a little deeper into the why those businesses actually went down. And one of the common fact I found with all the big trucking companies with over 100 trucks that went out of business, most of them are because they lost their key customers. And we cannot just have 3 customers. If you right now only have 3 if 80% of your business comes from 3 customers, and you're scaling, you're growing only with 3 customers, and you're not getting more and more new customers to your pipeline, very likely the moment if we lose 1 or 2 customers, we're going to go out of business, right? It's because a lot of trucking companies are not doing what? They're not doing the inbound and outbound marketing. Pipeline, generating leads, shippers, going to conferences, and going to all kind of different places to generate more business and more customers for us. That's an ongoing thing that never stops. As a leader, as a founder of the company, we need to focus on the $500 task, right? Not the $5 task. What is considered $5 task? Trying to save money and manually doing everything yourself, not trusting your people to delegate tasks to them, right? Business owners, everybody join the call today. If you're gonna walk away with anything today, like I'm gonna forget everything, but I'm gonna remember one thing. This is what I want you to remember. The $500 task is, how do I generate more revenue for my business? How do I get more shippers in my pipeline? Right? How do I keep on doing that? That if you can do that, all the problem will go away in your company. If your profit margin is 7% right now, you increase it to 20% just because you found five more direct customers who's working with you, everything else will go away, right? The problem of having old trucks breaking down on the road, now we can buy new trucks. And having drivers who are complaining, not keeping drivers, when we get more money, pay them 10% higher than the market rate. Nobody, not only they won't leave, they'll bring the best driver to your fleet as well, right? Everything of those problems will literally go away the moment we realize that we need to focus on the $500 task, which is generating revenue and increasing our profit margin. So how you make that happen is, like I mentioned earlier, going to conferences, going to trade show, going to networking events is one of the many channels to make that happen. And consistency and play the long game is the way to nurture and close those customers. Remember that it takes about at least 7 to 10 touches before you close someone. So don't give up too early. Through all type of different touches, keep on nurturing those people until you close them. Once we figure out where our key customer is, keep building the list on where to find them and keep on nurturing them, nurturing them. Uh, and 7 to 10, 7 to 12 touches. Don't give up early. Kind of talk about this right here. When you send emails, this is one more thing we want to touch on is, how do I send emails that don't go to spam, like people actually open? There's a lot of formulas, in my opinion, in trucking. No, there's nothing special. If you just follow the formulas, like your company will grow, will scale, right? ADA framework. When you write emails, how you guys came to this conference, 80 to 90% of you on this call today found out us through email marketing, right? And it's because we grab your attention through the subject line. Some of you might be from phone call, same thing. We grab your attention through the first sentence we tell you, right? Everything in life we want to do, everything we talk about today, follow the same framework, ADA framework: attention, interest, desire, action, right? I grab your attention by telling you, hey, do you want to work with direct shippers? I got your attention. Ooh, how do I maintain your interest high through engaging? Well, there are 5 channels that you can find direct shippers, right? Inbound marketing, outbound marketing. I give you a breakdown, bitch. Do you want them? I trigger a desire in you guys that, oh, okay, after listening to the seminar, I think I can get shippers too, right? I got that desire in you. Next is action, right? What action do I want you guys to take? Here's the action to take in order to get them. Same thing when we write email to shippers, follow the same formula. How do I send emails to them, right? Everything we share today, there's nothing reserved holding back from our company. You can do all of those stuff manually yourself, or Truckpedia, like we mentioned even from the beginning, Truckpedia is on a mission to automate all those processes, right? How do you have a system to keep everything in track and you can close customers? That's what Truckpedia does, right? That's what Truckpedia does in this part with email marketing part. You go to conferences, you get stacked a business card. How do you follow up with them? Either manually follow up with them or you systemize it, right? Truckpedia marketing, this is my favorite tool. Every conference I go to, after conference, I write about 12 sequences of emails, and all the people I meet, I add them to the sequence. First email, always personalized, right? After that, I kind of start automating that. If they don't reply to me, I categorize my shippers as A shippers, B shippers, and C shippers. A shippers are the one I'm going to be manually like engaging with because I know I can close them. B shippers, right? It could be A shippers lost interest, downgraded to B, or people that I haven't gotten them to A list yet. Those are the people that I know I cannot personally manage, and I'm going to nurture them through what? Email marketing. But all of you guys, the email you got, we didn't write them one by one. We send out to everybody, right? It's the same email. I know your pain point, send to everybody. Similar concept. If we're targeting food shippers, we're targeting meat shippers, Like the emails we write, it's going to be applicable to pretty much everybody, right? First few, we personalize. After that, nurture them, move them to our A list through what? Email marketing, right? Email marketing. This is the tool Truckpedia offers where you can massively send emails and you can write sequences that works, right? That people reply to. And the list can come from conferences. The list can come from anywhere, from lists from online, LinkedIn, different tools, right? Say, hey, this is actually Brian might actually be on the call, right? There are actually people shipper replying to them. Thank you for reaching out. The biggest issue is we don't have LTL shipping very often, right? Majority of them goes one parcel. However, every now and then we do have a need. When that occurs, I do shop around for quotes, right? What lanes you go to, and there are people asking, hey, what's your address, right? Looping our logistic VP, right? Different things to make people work with them. So email marketing works. We have the right message to people is through all kind of different people, the list that we get, right? So this is what I was talking about. Sequence step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4, right? We set them out and we set up, hey, 7 days from now, 7 days from now, 8 days from now, 10 days from now, the email will automatically go out to them. And we track who is opening our email. If they keep on opening our email, that means they're interested. We should probably give them a phone call, right? Or the ones will reply back to us and we can see who replied to us, right? So there's a lot of success stories that we see from people doing email marketing. Those could be leads literally from trade shows or anywhere. If the hardest thing is niching down. Once we find our niche, we can find a list from anywhere and then just start doing email marketing towards those people until we convert them. Um, right? So those are all examples of customers running email marketing through Truckpedia campaign and the responses that they get. Lastly is keep track of those leads. You're going to forget in your notebook that, hey, someone so-and-so told me to reach back out to them in 3 weeks, in 10 days. What happens is having a system to keep track of it, manage it. So you know that, hey, 10 days from now, this is activity list. We did X, Y, Z together. We reach out to them first time, second time, third time, all the days, all the activities we did with them. And then they told us, hey, reach back out to me on this day, right? Having that system to reach out, remind you to reach out to them, creating that contact in one place so don't get lost. These are the stuff I did manually before, and then Truckpedia put this into a system to make that happen, right? I want to save the last 45 minutes for Q&A. Truckpedia, our goal is we want truckers to win. We want everybody to win. And if you're interested in automating everything we talk about, we will share all the resources with anyone joining this call, regardless if you become a Truckpedia customer or not. We'll share all the resources, the one pager, the guide, the way to do it. And the difference is if you want to automate those stuff, having a system to manage it, Henry, Ivy, Brenda in the chat will be able to help out. And if you have question, we can definitely address that too. Lastly, besides seminar like this, we also share a lot of recorded resources on different tips with people. And every month we offer one seminar similar to this, but focus on a different topic every time. Today we focus on conference and trade shows. Next one could be knocking on doors, writing out those emails, making cold calls, et cetera, right? All the different inbound, outbound channels. Every month we'll do one to teach truckers, share those resources with people. So feel free to follow us on YouTube, join our Facebook page, and TikTok. We're everywhere. Those are our prior seminars before we hosted them in person, and pictures that we took before. So with that, I want to open the next 45 minutes to Q&A. Feel free to unmute yourself, put any question in the chat. We'll love to answer any question that you guys have.
Screen, and that way we can see everyone's faces too.
Okay. All right.
That way, feel free to pop your face and let me unpin you.
Harry, I see you had a.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I would suggest, especially to anybody that's never been to a seminar, industry event, a conference, a trade show, when you're doing your research, first off, if you've never done this and you're not like a natural networking person, start local, look for the ones that are cheap. Don't go to the $1,500 ones if you've never been. Go to a $40 local one. Bring your business card, your one pager. Just start the network. Trust me, the first words out of your mouth is going to sound like a box of marbles. I've said this 100 times. It's okay, but work your way up. Work your way up to that Manifest event or that $1,500 one in Vegas. Those are great events, but if you're not natural to this, start small. Don't go big.
Like
Okay.
what Henry said, I want to add on that. It's actually very easy. If I own packaging, right, I can just literally type in packaging networking events near me. You see how many events that popped up? Same thing as you can do that and then try to figure out if they're good or not, right? So like what Henry said, we don't have to pay right away. Even with that, it's telling me there's a summit, packaging summit. I didn't even know that, right? Just start Googling and find small events where you work your way up to the bigger events if you would like to. Yeah, food and beverage, right? All different type of stuff or free expo pass. I don't know where that is, but food and beverage. If anyone's doing that, there's one for food and June 24th. This is Charlotte, North Carolina, right? For people who are nearby, you don't have to pay to go into it, and you see all the food and beverage manufacturers being there. Do a little research and see who's going, who's exhibiting, right? Those are just from simple Google search, you find
Yeah.
them. But the key is niching down on what you're interested in, and then that becomes much easier when you're searching.
Yeah. And last thing, I mean, truck shows are great. Okay. Just first off, you want to be careful. Like we're going to Mid America. Our team will be there. And that's a great truck show to network with other truckers. But if you're going to go there, you're not going to find direct shippers. You're going to find a bumper for your Freightliner, right? Somebody who's going to sell you something. They're not bad to go to. Trust me, they're great shows. But if you're going to go there, expect to network and find a direct shipper, you're probably not. Okay, so just watch where you're going to. Like Justin said, kind of niche. Find an area where you've done business before. See if there's something local. If it meets your pricing, what you feel is comfortable with paying to get in, go for it. Try it out. Um, but again, those big truck shows, they are great. But they're there to sell you. Go ahead, Franklin.
Good morning, everyone. Well, good afternoon. My question was to you. Do you guys have any suggestions for truckers that are looking to contact shippers that have their own equipment that needs to be moved for the power only?
Power only. What are you? How many trucks do you have?
I have 6 trucks, and we usually kind of piggyback off the bigger guys like Knight, Swift, Schneider, CR England. We particularly run power only for them on the front end, and then on the back end we connect with our own shippers and use their equipment to use for our backhauls. So my question is, how do we go about finding direct shippers that have their own assets? Let's use Ashley's Furniture for an example, because they have trailers, and we want to be able to reposition their trailers or take their loads where they need to go directly to their customers, where we save on time and we're able to execute multiple loads, quite aggressive.
Yeah. So in what you mentioned right there, where are you located, Franklin?
Los Angeles.
You're in Los Angeles, so there's actually quite a bit of so the tough thing is figuring out which shippers have their own equipment. Like you mentioned, furniture might be a good one. Then what happens? There's a few ways around this. Is driving around the neighborhood and then see which company got their own trailers, and then just start knocking on their door, introducing yourself to them. That's one way. Second way would be it's. I personally have never been in the power only industry, so to your question, I don't know exactly how to do it, but I think there's definitely a way to do that. It's figuring out, right, how do we find a list of shippers that have their own equipment, and once we find that, then it becomes easier to target our message towards them, whether through email marketing or whether through knocking on their doors, introducing themselves. What have you done so far that worked for you? Like you mentioned that you might have a few that you do reposition trailer with. How do you find that customer that you're working with right now?
Well, we're currently working through the brokers. So And a lot of these customers are coming through the broker. So
Got
we want to cut out the broker and be able to
Got
deal
it.
direct with the customer.
Got it. So
So
there.
and our goal is to try to find the actual demographics. How do we go about finding that demographic to say, hey, these particular companies have equipment and it needs to be moved?
Yeah.
I kind of have an answer to that
Yeah.
somewhat, even though I'm still trying to grow and scale myself. I'm actually a power only carrier myself with 11 trucks running. I started back in 2016 when Amazon opened their doors to the smaller carriers. That's how I got started. I mean, I started the trucking company in 2012, but I started, with my own authority and doing the power only in 2016 with Amazon. And Amazon required a bunch of different criteria that I had none of at that time, and it took a lot of patience and a lot of tediousness to get all of the stuff that they needed. So there are a lot of carriers, and I'm not sure about like the Ashley Furnitures, because that's actually one of the first companies that I ran a load with when I became an owner operator. But I was leased under another company, so I'm not sure if that's what he does when he spoke of like the CR Englands and all of that, if he's leasing under them or if he's operating his own authority. My main customer is a company called OnTrack. I'm not sure if you ever seen them before. Being in LA, you probably have. I work out of California myself in the Fontana area, and they on the West Coast, they actually got bought out by a company called Lasership. On the East Coast, Lasership on the East Coast, OnTrack was on the West Coast. So OnTrack has all of their own equipment. So we pull all of the OnTrack's trailers. And on the East Coast, Lasership had hired to have equipment. So I'm not sure if they're gonna, which one is gonna win over, if they're gonna keep the business model the way that it is on each coast. But I would say look into OnTrack, look into like FedEx. I know they have a division that has power only. Look into XPO Logistics. I know they have a division that has power only. And I was able to discover those strictly through online. So when I discovered that Amazon, which was power only at that particular time, I haven't ran for them in a while. When I noticed that things weren't looking all that bright with them, it put me in kind of like a fight or flight mode or like a panic mode where I'm like, man, I got to find something else, because I invested so much because of Amazon at that particular time, to where I got lucky and was able to come across the OnTrack. And then I literally just grew in scale with strictly OnTrack.
How did you find?
I learned today is don't just grow and scale with them. But I did grow and scale with them where I actually have been pretty successful. But I've always had in my mind, like, man, I don't like having all of these eggs in this basket.
One basket, yeah.
Exactly. So that's part of the reason why I'm here. I'm like, hey,
How-
I need to.
How did you find OnTrack to begin with initially?
Literally was online.
Online.
And that was the way that I found Amazon too. So Amazon they had posted, this was back in 2016, they had posted an ad on Craigslist. And I responded to the ad, and a bunch of carriers showed up, and it was like literally the criteria, because their criteria, a lot of people didn't have. So luckily, my wife that I had at that time, that was her thing. Like all of that little tedious stuff, like she was great at that. So I was like literally, just like you said, you can't get discouraged, ready to give up. I'm hearing all that. It was overwhelming. I'm like, well, I guess that was that. And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, we're gonna do this. So once we got all of the criteria, like they needed 3 trucks, I only had 2, and I was broke. So I'm like, how am I gonna get this 3rd truck? But I kind of was like, hey, if you let me come on with 2, I can get that 3rd truck within 2 months. And they was like, okay, cool, let's go ahead and roll with it like that. So once they started going downhill, it's not like OnTrack just advertised. I literally just started Google searching, and OnTrack came up. And I sent one of those emails, and I don't know if it went into spam or not, but the guy actually responded. He responded in a way like, man, where have you been? You know what I mean? Like we need someone like you. And then I started slow. Like they literally just put one of my trucks on as just a standby. Like they're paying me like $50-$60 an hour to just have my guys sit there. And then when they needed him to dispatch a load or something like that, then the clock stopped on the hourly, and then they pay me a certain amount of mileage. And I actually still to this day have two of those standby runs that I started with them with, but I got probably like about 17, 18 actual routes to where part of the reason why I'm here, because I got so complacent. It's like, man, this is like freaking cruise control. You know what I mean? But to where I don't have no dispatch department. Like I literally don't do nothing. My drivers know what they're going to do every day.
You know, I love how you shared that. Where everything you shared. Thank you. I didn't catch your name earlier. What's your name? Thank you so much for sharing that. Right. Those are the stories that we encourage people to share on calls like this, where carriers actually get together, sharing the best practice on how you got that. Right. The problem on track with you. The reason why they started running ads. Amazon started running even on Craigslist ad. Like even 2016, that's unbelievable. Amazon putting ads on Craigslist. To me, that people would think it's a scam, right? Same as OnTrack running ads to try people. Why do they do that? The reason of that is us carriers are not making ourselves visible. We don't have any online presence. When they search online, they cannot find us. I guarantee you, Amazon, OnTrack, there's a million other ones online right now that are searching for carriers that may exactly offer what you have, but they can't find you. Now, imagine you have a website that says, right, power only, drive van service in this area. When they search, you're going to populate right away. And when you populate, what's going to happen is they're going to contact you, right? This is what we were talking about earlier about the part is let me share my screen one more time. Is we talk about this one, inbound and outbound marketing, right? OnTrack and Amazon, what they did was inbound marketing. What they run an ads and you reply, and we are not doing any of the inbound marketing right now to do those stuff. We absolutely need to, and this is a reason why we talk about niching down, right? Imagine if a furniture shipper looking for drive power only trucking companies, right? We write block on our website. We target furniture. We target this and this and this. When they search for a keyword, we populate. Ooh, guess how much power that's going to bring to you. And let me share one more thing. How to find the right shippers on Google. Top 3. These are ads. Truck Stop, Mothership. Those people are running ads for it. Truckpedia, no ads. This is a block that we wrote in 2022. Every month we get about 10 people. Just like how you send that email to people, we get about 10 trucking companies ask us for help, right? This is exactly why Truckpedia, right? What we're doing for people is we're giving people the ability, hey, let's make you known. This is what Truckpedia is doing, the marketplace that allow people, any trucking company, for example, let's use this one example. How do we allow you to share what you do so that people, when they search you, populate? And how do you make it so specific that, hey, I'm a short haul dredge company focusing on Fontana and Long Beach, right? So when people search, we populate. These are the stuff that trucking companies are doing, but we're trying to empower people to do is these are what we're doing, right? Booking a truck should be as simple as booking a flight. And by having that online presence, what we're doing is we're opening up all different inbound, outbound marketing channels, literally. But imagine all of these channels are going to work for us. For power only, same thing. To answer your question, frankly, from earlier, it's the same thing. We got to figure out a way to find those on-track Amazon people and then running inbound and outbound marketing to attract them towards us, right? What that comes is literally these different channels right here going to work, right? Cold call, knocking on door, conferences, email marketing, massively getting our words out there, drive traffic to us, and us finding them finding us, and us finding them. So I think maybe you two should maybe even get together, have a separate call where how you two can, partner up, finding those power only, building the power only partnership to support that people. And I see Heather has a hand. Heather.
Yes. I had just a couple of questions about actually attending the conferences. Are most of these conferences available to anyone who wants to pay to go? You don't have to be in the industry?
Yeah, anybody can go. Conferences, they make money by charging people to attend those conferences. So anybody can go to, but if you haven't been to conferences a lot before, I would highly recommend go to a few local ones, get a feel, and then go. But yeah, right. Most conferences are open to anybody. Everybody can go.
And are you suggesting basically to usually be maybe at the event halls or in the networking events instead of attending every very technical seminar and just maybe network with people who are taking a break or outside of the actual seminars that you may not have any idea what they're talking about. It's like we do a lot in the oil field, and I'm looking at some conferences and it's very technical.
Yeah.
But just networking with the ones that during the networking events and in the exhibit halls.
I personally like exhibit halls. I like going to. I always like day one networking when everyone has a lot of energy. No one's tired. Everybody want to network. So I actually don't like the seminars because the seminar, for example, right now, all of you guys may want to network, but because I'm talking all the time and you can't really network with people. I personally not a huge fan of seminars unless the topic they talk about is exactly what I want to learn. You will always
Right.
find me in the hallway grabbing people, whoever's walking by themselves, like I would just grab them and start talking to them. And literally even outside the conference venue, the people sitting outside were going in. So just pretty much anywhere I see people walking by themselves, I see that, hey, let me strike up a conversation. I do that. So
Great.
yeah.
Justin, can you open up the chat? There's
Uh,
a lot of questions.
Yeah, okay. There are questions coming in from the chat. I'm interested in getting a sample of email marketing. We actually have a email marketing Truckpedia block. We actually have one where we can share with you guys. One of the block we have is I think email template, right? Direct shipper outreach email template. So this is a template we kind of wrote out what you want to do. So there's sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll post this to the chat. You can take a look at it on that one, or we can send out more information on that on the template. And more question is going to be. I'm sorry, Heather. Did you finish your question, or that was it?
I did. That was the main question.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. And would you guys recommend lead gen and cold calling? Absolutely. Lead gen, cold calling, that's a huge part of a part of the deal, right? If you can afford a team or even yourself making like 50 calls a day, but you got to be consistent, right? Making a cold call, mistake I made when I first joined the trucking industry was I actually made quite a bit of cold call, but then I didn't do the follow-up enough to land those people. I gave up too early, right? So lead gen, cold call, definitely great, but a lot of people don't know how to do lead gen. If you know how to do lead gen, great, go for it. And then cold calling, absolutely. Absolutely cold calling. It's one of the many channels that we do. And what are some competitive strategies? What are some strategies to gauge competitive rates? Okay, I love this conversation on rates. If you are working with brokers, let's say 80 or 100% of your loads are you rely on are from brokers, what that means is it's very safe to say if you mark up your current rate by 10%, you're still cheaper than majority of them, right? Like competitive rates wise, your current rate, whatever that is paying, you mark up by 10%. It's very safe to say that you will not lose a deal because you're of a rate, and it's going to be very, very competitive because we know average brokers profit margins are 15 to 20%, right? And if we mark our current rate by 10%, we're still lower. But then if our original profit margin was only 7%, now you get 10% higher. All of a sudden, we'll went from our profit margin being 7% to 17%, right? So that will make you still very competitive. What is a lead gen? Lead generation is how do you generate leads like shippers? How do you find shipper leads, right? That's lead gen. When it comes to lead gen, there's organic ways of generating leads where there are, going to trade show, for example, TPM is actually a good one. Good example, TPM Long Beach for people whoever is in Dridge, right? TPM Long Beach for Legion, what does that mean? They will tell you who's attending, and we click on this list and you see view attendee, right? It tells you the Legion is okay, 1,800 flowers, right? A custom brokerage. Those are the people attending there, and us getting those and finding out who is the logistic manager, warehouse manager, director of transportation of those companies. That's Legion. But in this way of a Legion is we're kind of doing Legion our own to figure out those are target customers we want to work with. And then we want to figure out who is in charge of that position where we need to reach out to so that we can do our email marketing, do this marketing, that kind. One of the best ways to do Legion is through LinkedIn, right? You type in LinkedIn, you go and search, who is this, who's that, you'll be able to find them through LinkedIn. would be a great way to tap in logistic manager and then getting to know who they are. Other lead gen is it could be inbound, outbound lead gen. For example, our block the block right here, right? This is a lead gen. We have a people asking for you to post block. You like it, reach back out to us, and this seminar is lead gen. Us doing the seminar is a lead gen. We send you guys emails letting you guys know, hey, we're gonna teach you how to find shippers. You join a seminar, you're interested, we got your information, and we run email marketing towards you. To us, that's our lead gen of converting customers. So that's lead gen. How can you specialize oversized dredge freight coming into LA or Long Beach port? This is actually very how can you find specialized dredge freight? This is actually very niche. If you are handling oversized or oversized or overweight containers coming to the LA beach part, what happens is a couple of things, right? What are some of the heavy equipment that tend to be oversized? That's small, but that they weigh a lot, right? It could be fitness gym equipment. Right? I can tell you probably a lot of gym equipments are overweight, and you can just think about the commodities that you've hauled in the past with brokers, right? Those are oversized or overweight. I'm sure if you dive into your current rate confirmations, look at commodities of the freight that you haul are overweight, then that you find out what your niche industry should focus to be. For example, right? You find out to be X. You type in, let's say gym equipment manufacturers, gym equipment warehouse near me, and then you find who they are. And oversized, right? What are they shipping? Are they shipping like I don't know what I've never been in the industry in that on that side, but think about what are the commodities that are often oversized, right? And then you can think yourself, do your little research, or again go through your old rate confirmation and look at what commodity were oversized, and then find company lookalikes, right? By putting that commodity in there, Google, you find who they are. Franklin, this also kind of answered your question from earlier is brokers often have a 1 year or 2 year non-compete agreement where if you work with those people, they don't allow you to back solicit, but the agreement would expire. For example, you've been in the industry since 2016. So chances are, the first few years, right, those contract has expired, you can technically reach out to those people. If they ship product back then with all their own equipment, I don't think they got rid of their equipment in the last few years. So you can technically go back in there and figure out who they are. And once you start working with those people, then they will know who else owns equipment. For my first customers, what I did was back then was I think I converted about 3 to 5 customers. And then most of my new customers came from actual referral, right? They really liked my service. And I asked them, hey, because we know truckers, the shippers know shippers. If you ask them, hey, do you know who else might need my service? We're trying to grow our fleet. You'd be surprised how willing they are to introduce you to their friends. To them, it's just a warm intro, quick intro. To you, it means the whole difference and getting more customers, putting eggs in different basket. Yes, the call will be recorded. It's all recorded. We'll share with you guys probably sometime next week. The link with you guys once it's ready. I think Henry. Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing too to keep in mind, we've all received freight from multiple brokers for the same load, for the same client. Those guys have not made a relationship, right? So to me, that's open game. I'm going to be there with my one page or my business card.
And to make it clear, what Harry means is, right, those are company lookalikes. We're not encouraging anybody to back solicit. We have had companies that back solicit brokers, and because they had a good relationship with brokers, the shipper would tell the broker, hey, your carrier is trying to backdoor you. So keep in mind, there's a risk on that. I would never recommend anybody to, illegally back solicit, but because of agreements expiration, the contract we signed with them, there are times where things have expired. And also because, right, from lead gen, whoever asked that question in the chat earlier, if we're doing our own lead gen, they happen to be on our lead gen when we generate it, right? How do you define that fine line? Because brokers, just because you work with them and I have a lead gen of 5,000, because everybody, end of the day, I can tell you, most people are getting their lead gen. Where are they getting leads from? It's LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is literally the best platform to generate all kind of, because everybody's on LinkedIn. Any logistic manager, everyone's on there. And if you get those off LinkedIn, chances are brokers are getting them off LinkedIn as well. They're reaching out to them. You're reaching out to them just because you worked with someone a year ago. You didn't even know, right? You didn't even know that it's a mutual customer that you work with. So there's a lot of great areas where you have to make that decision yourself for your own business. Yeah.
I had a question regarding like when you're at one of the trade shows and you're having that conversation where you're getting to know someone. When in the first introduction, do you usually introduce yourself like, "Hi, I'm such and such with this company," or do you just like, "Hey, my name is such and such," and just start talking?
So my best intro when I talk to people is I often when I go to a conference, depends on what type. I always walk with a glass of wine, and what I do is that, "Hey, John, nice meeting you." We shake hands. I don't introduce myself, right? I say, "What brought you to the conference?" Right? How are you liking the conference so far? "Oh, John, you seem like a fun person. What do you do for fun?" And start conversation that way. Don't right away to introduce, "I do this," right? Build that little relationship with them, and then you go into a conversation. "So, John, I see your name tag. It says, ABC Sporting Goods, right? Are you in the fitness industry, or are you in the sports industry?" Right? And then have them come. I always ask them first what they do first, because if you're introducing yourself, it's a little weird. I feel like I say, "Hey, I do this," right? But I always like to ask people what they do and make them comfortable, and then I introduce myself on what I do. And a lot of time when I talk to them, I will remember what we talked about, and the next time if I talk to someone else, and I literally I know that, oh, I'm not looking for C, right? I'm not looking for freight forwarders, but I just spoke to John. John's looking for freight forwarders. And then when I get that, a lot of times that, "John, hey, I met this person here. You may be a need for you," right? Right away, that's the best way to build any relationship is by giving people value, right? By giving them value, like you immediately make that we're human. Like we feel like we don't want old people stuff. Just like everybody right here on this call today, almost everybody, almost 2 hours in, everyone's still on the call. Why? Because nobody has ever shared this type of resources with truckers, and we're sharing that. And you guys love, enjoy listening to this up. Same thing. If I ever have an ask, I can see that, hey, so and so want to talk to you. You'd be absolutely, Justin's a cool guy. Let me talk to them, right? Same thing. Talk to people, make it comfortable, make them feel at ease.
Can I chime in really quick? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
also, Heather has a question when you get a second.
yeah.
Okay.
We see you, Heather. Thanks for waiting. Real quick. So again, I'm not the expert. Justin's so good at providing value. He's really great. But I really love this aspect where, especially when you're in a sea of 100 people, you have to figure out a way to just get your foot in the door. That's what marketing and sales is all about. How do I just get my foot in the door so you can give me a chance to keep talking to you and do those 7 to 12 touches so I can close you, right? So Henry can attest to this. Justin can attest to this. I just find common ways, like little fun things to just kind of like relate to them really quick. Especially as a woman, it's really easy for me to be able to comment on your clothing. Guys, you have to be a little more careful, especially if you're commenting on another woman. But typically, I've made so many easy ins for like, oh my god, like I literally asked this person, he was wearing a suit and he had this special pin, and I was like, wait, what's that pin about? I was just curious. And Justin shaking his head because he remembers it ended up turning into a lead, and it was just from commenting on the pin. And it's like, oh my god, because you want to be able to put your foot in the door, not aggressively and shove it in. You want to do it subtly, naturally, and authentically.
Yeah. Like Ivy said, you don't even need to talk to them. Say, "Oh, what's that pin?" You don't even ask for a name yet. "Oh, I see you wearing the pin. That looks really cool." Because nobody will wear a pin if it doesn't have a meaning behind it.
Yes.
And that works every time, right?
Yeah.
If you see someone wearing a pin and you want to talk to them, you don't need to say anything. Just, "Oh, what's that pin? That looks beautiful. Like, what's that for?" And they will tell you the whole story behind it. And then yes.
Because how do I? And then also my favorite part too, if like Justin's drinking with his cup of wine, is like, hey man, what cup is that? Are you on number 1, number 2? What's going on here?
And I was like, haha, that's number 3.
Number 3. I was like, oh, not enough, dude. Okay, but what's your name, bro? How are you doing? What brought you to the conference?
Yeah.
And so like I always start with how do I get my foot in the door in a subtle, fun, natural way?
Yeah.
And then also enthusiastically. You want to show that like, oh, Justin, you seem cool. They feel your energy.
Just be yourself. Like Ivy's type is like the energy.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, just be your own type, whatever that is. Just be yourself, and then the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. Right? Initially, you may say introduce yourself. I literally met a carrier and manifest And when she was networking with people, she was straight up go people. Oh, you're a shipper. Okay, I run 50 trucks from A to B, where I start pitching. It kind of scared people away. But then she learned later on, like when I met her, she was pitching that to me as well. Actually, hey, I can see your first time. Do you want some tips? She goes, oh yeah, sure, of course. Because that when you meet people, don't right away, don't do that, right? But they'll know. And then she got, and then throughout the next 3 days, I saw her again. She got better and better and better at it. So yeah, so you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna get uncomfortable, and then you're gonna become comfortable.
Heather, sorry, back to
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Heather, back to you. I think you might be on mute, Heather. Are you? Yeah, you're on mute. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, this is a lot of great tips. I'm really glad that y'all have done this because it does really it really is really informative and helpful. My question would be, if you are doing, say, cold calls, how do you know exactly how to ask for the right department? Is it always shipping and receiving or procurement if you're not able to, for say, find the person that you need to speak with ahead of time? How do you get past the receptionist and to the right person, I guess?
Okay, I love this one. This is a tough one for everybody and anybody. There's a few ways to do it. Depends on the size of a company, but often when you go through a receptionist, their job is their gatekeeper. They get paid to keep you out of the gate, right?
Right.
So when what you do normally is you try to be as vague as with them as possible. You don't let them know you're soliciting business. What has worked for me while I was doing cold call, while I was in trucking business was, hey, I need to speak with the local authorities. I need to speak with the person in charge of freight. What's regarding as regarding it's regarding freight. I need to speak to that person in charge. Can you transfer? Please transfer me. Or rather than asking them, hey, please can you transfer me to this? Please transfer me to the person in charge of freight. Oh, what's regarding? Oh, it's regarding freight, and I need to talk to the person in charge of this. It might backfire you in the wrong way, but at least you get to the right person. So I've tried that. It worked for me. It also has backfired on me. So and then it goes. So you're just trying to get through to me through my gatekeeper to talk to me. I'm like, yes, right. There's times people get pissed at it. There's times that, oh, you're clever and let's talk. There are people that, you know what, like stop trying to act like you're smart, right? Like don't do this. So there's different ways to do it. I've even left message to people who I've been trying to reach out to that never replied back to me. I'll leave them a voicemail that, hey, this is Justin calling regarding your freight. Please call me back at this number, right? Regarding being very vague with them, and they call back, and they have called back with a voicemail, and it could go either direction, and then we need to get very comfortable with handling the situation. Just don't get offended. It's part of a business. We're trying to increase our chance of talking to them.
I want to say too, Justin's most important thing. I think when you're cold calling, one, it takes practice. But two, he said, call with authority in your voice, because when you're not speaking with that tone and you're like, oh, yeah, can I get in touch with the transportation manager, with that hesitance and like lack of confidence, people immediately have an easier time shutting you down.
Yeah, and then I hope that's helpful. That's a really tough question, brother. It's everybody will get better over time and figure out what works the best. You may have to just try different things and see what works.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Franklin mentioned earlier, join IANA, Intermodal. Yeah, for that one, for Dridge, thank you for sharing that tips, sharing the best practice. IANA, I heard a lot of great things. I actually met the president of IANA at some of the conference. They invited us to go to their annual events. So that's great to help out with Dridge. So for people in Dridge, check out IANA. IANA?
IAN.
Yeah, IANA. Yeah. And then when looking for customers in need of intermodal freight move to another state, do we as carriers have to facilitate the final drop-off, asking to know what to offer customers? I think it depends. If the more services you offer to them, the easier it is, right? If you offer the full service, it's easier. I personally don't know too much about the intermodal industry, but what can happen is IANA is actually that organization is probably a great one. Oftentimes, for me to figure out the best question is go to those conferences and find ideal customers and ask them, right? Ask your customers what they want. If you talk to like 30 or 50 people and you find a pattern, very likely other customers will need the same thing. So I don't have the answer to that. I think Franklin gave a really good advice for that. And then Franklin mentioned that most of the time you have to return the empty to the designated port as well. Uh, thank you for sharing that.
Love these, you guys. Keep setting the pro tips or
Yeah.
best practices in there.
Best practices, and that's also part of the reason why we're trying to start the Truckpedia community. Is the same reason. How do we help truckers, connect? How do we build, from doing seminar like this to one day Truckpedia hosting a conference where we bring all the carriers together, right? So that's our goal, is starting small with seminars and eventually building into bigger events, and then what? Not only bring carriers but also bring shippers too. Like, you guys have to believe this. Like, shippers actually are looking for carriers too. You had a great story of two shippers looking for carriers, and they're both pretty big. They are looking. So we have to do our part to make ourselves findable, searchable online. And yeah, so we have about 8 more minutes. Does anyone else have more questions for us? And again, Truckpedia, right? At Truckpedia, what we do is we help trucking company build that online presence. Like, this website's literally built within less than 30 seconds. Share your instant rates. We're building a marketplace that we're pushing out right now, where trucking company, just like Airbnb, how they can display what they do and how much they charge. Same thing. We're doing those for truckers. And unlike brokers who mark up, right? For example, LT want to charge $475 to move from Carson to Fontana.
Oh, I don't think you're sharing the screen.
Oops. Thank you, Ivy, for doing that. So yeah, so like I was saying, right? Truckpedia, the marketplace we're building is really just like the Airbnb, the Expedia for trucking. If LT Trucking want to charge $475 from Carson to Fontana, we Truckpedia, we don't mark up anything. We don't charge anything, right? If you think about it, hotel industry, airline industry, they all share their rates. We just book it. But when it comes to trucking, it's reverse. People tell us, hey, can you do 300? Instead of 475, can you do like 375? Can you do 425, right? No, I cannot. This is my cost. If you can take it, take it. And there's plenty of people want to book you at this price point, right? So Truckpedia, and we won't mark up anything. We won't take any money from the cut, from how much you charge per transaction. We just want to be a technology platform. For example, if the shipper is looking for a specific type of carriers doing power only, or doing step deck, or doing reefer from A to B, when they search, you guys populate, right? And you have the online presence where they can take you, navigate them directly to your own website, and where they can reach out to you and facilitate that book, that trucking, and email marketing, just different tools to help truckers become successful. That's really at Truckpedia we want to do, is just really be the only technology platform focusing on helping carriers grow. We all know the statistics. 90% of trucking companies in the U.S. have 7 trucks or less. And I really think that's because nobody ever really focused on educating and sharing resources with truckers to scale their business, right? I think that's the root cause. If you dive deep down, people just say there are smaller mom and pop companies, but it's not. It just, no one ever shared the resources. No one ever taught truckers, this is how you scale. This is what you can do to stand out. So that's what we stand behind. Question in the chat: if you're a trucking company, what can you offer to a potential customer? Like, this comes to niche down, right? For example, I remember a question you asked about oversized, overweight containers, right? That if that's your offer, that's gonna be your niche. That's gonna be where you're focusing on. And you want to focus on any warehouses, any customer that need a oversized or overweight container out of Long Beach. And that's gonna be our target message, how we position ourselves to those customers, right? If customers, of course, if they have a dry van, we can handle them too. But what really makes us stand out, where we make the extra margin, where extra money come from overweight, oversized. So what we need to do is figure out, like I mentioned earlier, figure out who are all the customers that need oversized equipment, that need overweight equipment. And then we're going to do massive marketing through what? Inbound, outbound channels. When people search for oversized container, overweight container out of Long Beach, we need to populate. We need them to find us, and also we need to find them. Right? That's the inbound, outbound marketing when it comes to that. All right. Any more questions from me, guys? If not, just want to thank you guys again on Saturday joining us to learn how to find shippers, and reach out to us for anything if you want a one-on-one session with our team to learn more about how we can help you, let us know. And always feel free to join our monthly seminar. Again, we have zero holdback. Everything we want people to know, we will not hold back. Unlike some other people say, unless you pay, we won't share. That's not us. We want people to win. We want truckers to win, and we want to see as many trucking companies become successful as possible. And that's what we're here for. So once again,
One last question. Please, you guys in the chat, if you guys have topics of interest, we always every month do a different topic, but it's always really helpful. We want to listen to our customers and to our peers. Let us type in the chat if you have something in mind where we'd love to learn more about this.
yeah, send in the chat if you have more stuff. Let us know what you want to hear, and we will create our content. Our resources are around those